So what was it about Knights of the Zodiac that attracted you so much to make it into a direct live action?
I think it's our story started like five years ago, and actually started on a different adaptation. We don't want to reveal the title, but we were working together on a different adaptation, and Yoshi liked the work so much, and just asked me, "What do you know about Senseiya?" And I was like, I remembered Senseiya from my childhood because it used to be played also in Poland on television, and I liked it, but I was not like an expert. And I said, "Sure, let's do it. Let's start working on it." And from this moment, I started to dig deeper and deeper and deeper, and then really started to discover the beauty and the depth of this IP. So in my case, this was gradual. It was like Yoshi was looking for somebody to help to help the studio to find the way to adapt this very big franchise, because it's a huge franchise comparable with Marvel. A lot of characters, a lot of storylines, a lot of stories for different films and different series, and we are having only one movie. So first it started almost like a technical challenge, and then I grew to love the story and characters, and now I cannot live without it.
And one thing, when I first met Tomek, it's really his idea and instinct just blew me up. He wrote the small treatment, like 2 pages long, I think, first. And it was handed to me in a taxi cab, and then I was reading it. I'm like, who is this guy? Where is this idea coming from? So he's like, just not just a genius of the director, but his instinct is, and then also on the set, you'll see him, is more like a philosopher, So all the crews, loved him.
What's the heart of this IP? What makes this story and characters special in your eyes?
I think maybe Yoshi should start first.
Yes. Well, that's a very good question, because that's something I wanted to carry in this adaptation of live actions, because what usually happens is we have a lot of live action features based on the Japanese anime or manga, but not all of them carry the heart of their story or in manga or anime. And what is it? It's hard to define. And if it's easy, I had to say no to the 21 drafts of the scripts, and then the final one, which Josh and Matt created, got us like, yes, this is what I was looking for. So if I can define in one word, then I guess all the other writers who did the marvelous job on each draft, they must have gotten it. But I think it's something that you get from reading it and diving into it and then live with it, and then that comes with it. And I can tell you all the bits and parts of the elements, but I think that just comes with the, comes with the topic.
With the heart, and also like every character in this huge IP has his own backstory. So it's very hard to say that what is one thing, but I can say what is one thing for Seiya, for main character of Knights of the Zodiac. And this is this like a very interesting internal conflict which he has, because his destiny is to become a protector of next incarnation of goddess Athena. But when he was younger, he failed to protect his own sister. So he carries this like initial scene, and he has to first kind of go back in time, kind of solve it for himself, forgive himself, to actually be this protector. Because you cannot carry this burden with you all your life. At some point you have to face this demon from your past, and you have to solve it. And for me it was such an interesting character motivation, such an interesting structure. And of course, because it's manga and anime, so we have, this is the heart of the story, but we have also a lot of great action. So that's also important, because you have to always remember that the beauty of anime and beauty of manga lies in this balance between art and emotion and like real touching story, because we are touching story of loss, of love, of protection, but at the same time it's also explosive action. And in terms of Seiya, it's also quite violent action at moments. So it's a very nice balance, and I loved it. I loved every minute of work.
And that's actually one of the first things that when Tomek came on board, that he pointed out that the that's the core thing. And then and I was that kind to me like struck me, because until then our team had been working on many other elements, and what is the core, but when you go back to it, yes, that's the where Seiya's journey originally started. And then also for the creator of this manga, Mr. Masami Kurumada, his other comics also have the same theme, growing up with a sister and then losing it. So it is something Mr. Kurumada wanted to convey in all his career. So once Tomek pointed out, I'm like, yeah, that is right. That's always in his theme. So yeah.
So this question is actually for Yoshi. So this adaptation has been in the works for 10 years, according to Josh. How did you and Tomek work together to gather the cast? So, for example, you have Madison, Diego, Sean Bean, and then Makenyu. So they're all making up this pretty big cast of characters, and they work together. And I think the focus is also Seiya's growth, character growth. So how did you choose essentially the cast?
Yeah, it started with Makenyu, and for us it was really important. Like, who is Seiya? Like, who can we find our Seiya? Once we found Seiya and Makenyu got on board, then everything else was quite easy. But then. I think it was like a big journey for us. Then COVID hit, and of course complicated everything. Actually, in one case, it helped us because we actually reached to Madison agents in the very, very beginning. And at that time, she was busy, she couldn't take it, it was too complicated. And in this case, COVID helped us, because a year later, we thought, okay, let's try again, because she was like a perfect fit for Sienna, for Athena. And this time it worked. So, and the rest is history.
Yeah, you're right. Makenyu was the finding Seiya is the hardest thing, and then and also we wanted to have a diversity portrayed in this movie as well, especially because in manga and anime all the characters were trained in the different countries, and they have certain cultural background, and especially more so in the anime. I wanted to carry that into this live action, so we knew the cast will be very diverse, if we introduce all the epic into the film. So yes, finding the right person for Seiya, and first, ideally, because Seiya is Japanese, we thought having Japanese nationality or Asian background might be the best, but still finding the right fit was tough, but fortunately we were we could team up with the Makenyu and so it worked out. And the rest, yes, Sean and Famka were great, and Madison case, yes, that was true. We pushed almost a year, so that actually COVID helped us. And Diego, yes, and also Nick Stahl and Mark Dacakis, we have to shift the schedule, but fortunately they were still with the schedule, even though we had to push a year.
Thank you so much.
So you said like during that COVID kind of helped, but what was like the biggest struggle during the pandemic for adapting this?
Ooh, I mean, it helped, but first it crushed us because we had everything lined up, everything was prepared, and then COVID hit. I was at that time on the second season of Witcher. Everything was shifting. So suddenly I cannot finish in time. I cannot be on set in time. We started to reshuffle everything. We started to juggle with schedules. It was a lot of nervous days. But once we started, but once we returned and we decided that we are pushing to the next year, and once we locked the dates for everybody, then I think it was not that hard because at that time all the lockdowns and all the rules started to go down. We had vaccines, already we had much safer work environment. We had all the procedures which were tested on other sets. So once we started shooting, it was actually quite straightforward. So yeah, once we started shooting, it was not a problem anymore. But we had a lot of headache before.
The first round of the COVID, even your schedule, Tomek, one time didn't match, and what am I going to do? All the cast, they might, fit in this time, but I think eventually it worked out because the COVID, cases got increased, and then, I think it was the right choice to extend it, 6 more months, and then all the, main crews and cast were together on the same time.
It was a very weird year. You remember? There was no Comic-Con, right?
And then also, it was a challenge for any production team during this time, and we were, discussing with the insurance company and what is the medical backup and all that. So it was a tough time. We have to, test, crews and cast, almost every day. So it was the extra things.
Quickly, what lessons or takeaways did you have from Harlock Space Pirate that you've now applied to this production?
That was well, as toy animation, we basically makes animations, and then one thing I tried out in Harlock Space Pirate is we try to not use the anime distributors. Rather, we went with the sales agent, and then sold it through mainstream theater, network. And then we saw the opportunities, especially Italy and France, making a hit over there. So, and that kind of made us a proof that we can do this ourselves. And that's why, in terms of business, this project is 100% funded by toy animation, and then that's why we could give a lot of creative freedom to Tomek and all the film crews.
So I had a really quick question until Gary comes back for Director Tomek. So you're a big fan of the original series. They have really beautiful armor, just a lot of visuals and sci-fi elements. How did you incorporate that for the movie? I know we haven't seen anything yet. We're going to the panel in an hour. But can you talk about the visuals?
And we are still not showing armors. It's a big secret. We are keeping it. But I think it's quite important to understand both animation and live action and what are the strengths and weaknesses of both. And my background, because I like 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Wow.
I guess.
So 25 years ago, I started in animation. This was my background, so I really deeply understood what anime is. And actually, I was like stealing some shots from like famous anime projects to my projects sometimes, or maybe not stealing shots, but more
Inspired by?
like technological solutions, because there is a lot of technology behind it. So I had a deep understanding of animation, but I also, over the last 15 years, I was working mostly in live action, developing TV shows and projects and commercials. And because it is very, very clear that you cannot copy one world to another. You have to understand like strengths of both worlds and try to transfer what is transferable, and also like change what is not transferable, and just use live action, which is always a little bit more grounded. So not every fantasy action will look good in live action because it's slightly more grounded, and you don't want to get into like children movie territory where everything is possible. You want to give limits to your characters. So it's for me it was quite easy actually because I understand both worlds, but we are seeing that we have to finish. I just used all the experience I had from the past.
No, it's excellent. We're so excited. Thank you so much.
Will the panel see your happy dance? Diego told us about it.
Yeah. When you get a good take, you do a happy
I will be
dance.
sitting at the table, and happy dance needs
Your full body.
my full body.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.